Yesterday, Prakshit?
No, Ravi.
Okay, cool. So, what did we do yesterday? So we've let me quickly open up the PPT. So we covered quite a bit of topics yesterday. So we've looked at your async and polling. So async and polling are mainly used when you want to take care of your timeout issues and connection blocking on the remote machines. You can make use of your async and polling. Run once can be used when you want to run a task only once. So by default, the task gets executed on all the remote machines. But if you want the task to execute only on one machine, then you can make use of your run once. Local action can be used when you want to execute the playbook on your local machine, which will be your Ansible machine in this case. Loops can be used when you want to reduce the number of tasks. So when you have a a particular task which you want to repeat multiple times, we can make use of your loops for that. We looked at your conditions, so using the when conditions for different purpose. So this can be useful when you want to make runtime decisions, like for example, execute only on certain machines. So instead of failing the task, we can control that by making use of your conditions. And then we looked at your register. So whenever you want to capture the output of a particular task, and then display that on the control machine, we can make use of a register, and that's where we get stopped yesterday. Moving on, the next thing, sorry, we also looked at your vaults. So vaults can be used when you want to take care of your sensitive data. So by default, we keep the data in a text file, in a plain text, right? But if you have any if you have any sensitive data that you want to encrypt, we can make use of your vaults for that. So we looked at how you can encrypt the data, how you can read the data, how you can decrypt it. And then we also looked at how you can use that with your playbooks, right? How you can make use of your encrypted data. And that's where we had stopped yesterday. So any questions or queries with this?
No, Ravi. All good.
Okay, so moving on, the next thing we are going to look at is your prompts. Now, prompts can be used when you want to make your playbook user friendly. When I say user friendly, see, until now we have been writing the playbook and everything has been defined within the playbook itself. But now let's say you want to make this playbook very generic. When I say generic, like let's say you are in one project, I'm in one project, and then Sedu is in a different project. Now I want to write a playbook in such a way that you can use that playbook. I can also use it, and then Sedu also can use it. So what do we do here? When I am executing it, I will pass my own inputs. When you are executing it, you will pass your own inputs, and then when Sedu is executing it, Sedu will pass his own inputs. So that's where we can make use of your prompts. So what prompts does is when we are executing the playbook, it will ask certain inputs. For example, let's say in your project you're using Java. In my project we're using Python, and then Sedu is using, let's say, .NET. Now, when you are executing, you want to install Java. So your playbook will stop and it will ask, hey, what do you want to install? You can give the input and playbook will execute accordingly. Likewise, when I'm executing it, I will give my input, and likewise Sedu will give it. So that's where we can make use of your prompt section. One use case. Other use case is your passing the sensitive data. Now let's say you don't want to store the sensitive data anywhere. You can prompt the user to pass that sensitive data. For example, password of your database or the password of your servers, right? Which is a sensitive data. So the users can pass it. So security is one of the benefits that you get with your prompts. You can also make use of this playbook for your software releases. So, you can prompt as to, which version of the software you want to release, maybe 1.0 or 2.0 or 3.0. That's where we can make use of your prompts section. So with this, we have this additional section called vars underscore prompt. So here, for example, let's say we want to create a user. So instead of we creating the user, we can give this to the user and tell, hey, you execute this. And then the playbook will prompt, give the first name, give the username, give the password, give the location for the SSH keys. And based on the inputs given, Ansible playbook will go ahead and create that user for us. So this becomes a generic playbook which can be used by anyone in the team. Does that make sense?
Yes, Ravi.
So for example, Okay, hold on a moment. Okay.
Ravi, prompt answers can be other than yes or no, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely.
Okay.
It's an input, so you'll have to type the input.
Okay, okay. Because I just saw no, no, no. So that is the reason.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll come to that. That's a different thing, so I'll come to that. So let me start these machines here, and let's go to our GitHub repo and prompts. This is Ansible, right? So where's prompts? Do you see prompt? Okay, prompt. So here's an example wherein we are talking about installing the package. Okay, so you can say I have three prompts. So one, that's two, and that's three. And then we're using that in the tasks. Now, what's the usage of this is whether you want to show the input to the user or not. So whatever we are typing, do you want to see that or not? So if you set it to no, as a user, we won't be able to see what we're typing. And if you set it to yes, we will be able to see what we are typing. Make sense?
Oh, yes, yes, Ravi.
So, oops, sorry. Let's connect to our instance. Okay, so I'll first connect to my control machine here. Let me do an SSH. Okay, so that's my machine, and let's quickly update our inventory file. So nano hosts, and we'll go ahead and take this IP address. That's the IP, and let me comment this. You're using only one machine for the sake of example, but again, the number of machines, that's totally your choice. But for this example, I'm using only one machine. So I'll save this. Just give me 1 minute, Prokshit. Be back. Sorry. Uh, Sorry guys, very sorry. I'm back. Um, okay, so coming back to the example. Okay, so the machine is gone. So let me quickly connect to this machine once again. So there's our machine. And let's quickly check if you're able to connect to the remote machine. So Ansible all, and I just want to do a ping. So yes, and that should connect to the remote machine. So we are able to connect to the remote machine. So right now we are going to create a prompt.yaml file, and let's use example, which is this one. Okay. Now let me copy that and I'll put this here, and let's do this on all. So main things that you'll have to see here is this section vars underscore prompt. We are giving it a name. So this acts as a variable name. What do you want to prompt the user, and whether the user input is private or not. So if you set it to no, the user will be able to see what they're typing. If you set it to yes, the user will not be able to see what they're typing. And then we are copying the variables here. Okay, so you can see package one, which is this, package two, and likewise. So let me save this, and let's execute this. And this will be prompt.yaml. So now you will see that it will prompt. So you can see please specify package one to install. So whatever we given this prompt, it will display as it is. So let's say I want to install default hyphen JDK. Then your second prompt. So specify the second package that you want to install. So let's say git. The third package, let's say docker.io. Now you can see here for the third package, I have typed, okay, I've given the input, but I'm not able to see what I have typed. So that's where we use this particular information private. So set it to no, you will be able to see. Set it to yes, you won't be able to see. And you can have any number of prompts. That's totally up to you. And I can run this. And my Ansible will take this as inputs and it will start executing that. Does it make sense?
Yes, Ravi. Understood.
It has failed, so let me see why that is failing. Maybe I have to default hyphen JDK. Let's try with open JDK. So open JDK hyphen 17 JDK. Let me check my machine. That's Ubuntu. Do I have to update the machine? Maybe I have to update the machine. So let me quickly do that. Okay, I have to become. Okay, and let's try this again. So default hyphen JDK, get, and let's say Docker. Could not detect which major version of. Oh, okay. Now I see the problem. Sorry. I'm using Ubuntu, so this should be apt. Sorry, and then apt, apt, apt. And let's try this once again. So default hyphen JDK, get, Docker. Okay, so you can see now, let's say, you want to execute this, you can run the same playbook, but then you can give your own input. So let's say Python, then let's say Apache 2, and let's say git. So now you can see it's generic. Anyone can execute this and they can give the input they want. This is where we can make use of your prompts. Any questions?
No, Ravi.
Okay. Next, we are going to look at your tags. Now, by default, all right, you have your Ansible playbook, and imagine you have 50 steps, okay, 50 tasks in that particular playbook. Now, um, you don't want to execute all the 50 tasks. You want to maybe run only selective tasks. Maybe you want to run the fifth task, the 10th task, the 15th task. So basically, you want to be selective in running the tasks. How can we do that? That's where we can make use of your tags. So for each task that we create, we will be adding a tag to that. For example, here. So let me for now, let me comment this. So I'll show you what happens without the tags. And let me have this as apt, 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 and apt. Okay, so by default, when we execute the playbook, all the tasks will be executed. So even if you have like hundreds of tasks, all the tasks will get executed by default. But maybe, let's say you want to run only one particular task or only two tasks. That's where we can make use of your tags. Also, maybe you want to skip certain tasks. You can do that also. Okay, so here now I just want to change this one. Hold on. So docker.io, and this will be Apache 2, and this will be JDK. Okay, so now, so for each of the tasks, you see we are using this keyword called tags, and then a name. So this name is user defined. You can give whatever you want. Now, what's the usage of this? Now, because of this tags, we can run the task selectively. So let's say I want to run only the third task. I can use this name, and Ansible will execute only that particular task, or the fourth task, or any of the tasks. Okay, one scenario. Now, your tasks can be reused, meaning tags, sorry, can be reused, meaning one name we can use across your task. So, it need not be unique, the names. You can reuse your tag name. So in this case, when I use the name git, it will go and trigger all the tasks that has the name git. So now let me execute this. And when executing this, we'll pass this hyphen tags and the name of the tag that you want to trigger. So in this case, what will happen is Ansible will go to the playbook, search for the tasks that has the name git, and execute only those tasks. Likewise, you also have the option of skipping. So I can use this skip hyphen tag. So I'm telling skip any task that has the name git, right? And it will execute all the other tasks for us. So this is where we can make use of your. So you can see here, the third task got executed and the fourth task got executed. Questions?
Yes, Ravi.
So essentially, if you have large playbook, it may become useful to be able to run only specific part of the configuration without executing the entire playbook. So that's where we can make use of your hyphen tags or skip hyphen tags. So if you want to execute only specific task, you can use this hyphen tags. And if you want to skip any specific tasks, we can make use of this. You also have two more options, which is using always and never. Always is whether you pass the tag or not, I will always execute. Never will be only when you pass the task, I will execute. So there are different ways that you can work with this. Next is your error handling. Okay, so generally what happens is whenever you're executing your playbooks, and if a task fails, the playbook will start executing. Okay, it will not go further. Okay, so let's say for example, let's say errors. Okay, let's look at this.
The one which got like, in the APT. So all it
True.
didn't, it failed and then, yeah, got it.
Correct. Right. So it stopped there. It did not go further.
Correct.
So by default, that's how your playbooks work. All right. If there's any error, your playbook will stop executing and it will not go further. This case, let's say I have 3 tasks. That's 1, that's 2, and then that's 3. All right. So let's execute this and see what will happen. And let's call this. So you will see that if there's a failure, it will stop there. It will fail and it will not go any further. But however, you still want to continue. There's an error. That's fine. I still want to continue with execution of the playbook. That's how we can handle your error. So one way you can handle your errors is by ignoring them. Okay, so here I can set this ignore underscore error set to true. So in this case, I would still have the errors, but then my Ansible will ignore those errors. So you can see it failed, but I'm ignoring. I'm going to the next step. Failed, I'm ignoring. I'm going to the next step. Right? So that's where we can make use of your ignore errors, wherein I'm telling Ansible, hey, I know it's a failure. I'm okay with that. You go to the next step. Don't fail. That's one way you can handle your errors. You also have the option of failing a particular task willingly. For example, here if you see, fail the task if the output prints fail. So we are trying to start the service Tomcat start, and we are capturing the output here. And then I'm telling you fail this task if you find the keyword failed in the output. So again, we are trying to handle the error. See, we'll execute this, but how do we validate whether this was successful or not? So I want Ansible to validate that and tell me that, okay, it was not successful and I want you to fail that particular task. So you can see here I'm using this failed underscore when. I'm telling if you find this keyword failed in this output, you fail for this particular task. And likewise here also. That's another way how you can handle your errors. Make sense?
Yes, Ravi.
Next, you have your start and step. Now, this is another way how you can control the execution. Basically, which tasks do you want to execute? So tags that we covered, in that you have the option of selectively choosing the tasks that you want to execute. With your start and step, you have the option of specifying from which task do you want the playbook execution. So imagine you have a playbook with 50 tasks. You want to start the execution from the 25th task. You don't want to execute the first 25. You want to start executing from the 26th task. That's where I can make use of your start. Okay, so this is slightly different from your tags. Okay, so please understand that. So let
So if you're
me.
using the start tag, like, do we have to specific like mention like, 25 to 50?
You have to specify the start only. You don't have to specify the end.
Okay.
Okay, so in this case, again, if you say have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tasks in total. Okay, just for the sake of example, it would have been better if I had used Amazon Linux AMI, but fine, because most of the tasks will fail here. But anyway, so now again by default all the tasks will get executed. Okay, so let's say Apache 2. This will be docker.io, and this would be default -jdk. Okay, now let's say I want to start my task from here and then execute everything. So how do we do that? So we'll use Ansible -playbook, my inventory file, my playbook name, and we'll use start at task, and then the name of the task. Okay, whatever the name of the task you want to start from. So in our case, let's say I want to start the execution from here. I will pass that. So what will happen in this case, my Ansible will go to the playbook, search for a task that has that particular name and start the execution from there till the end of your playbook. So you'll see here install Docker. So I have in total 3 tasks. So install Docker, install Java, and then install MySQL. It ignored the first 2 tasks.
Ravi, what if there was a duplicate task? Like, for example, like install Docker at the end. Like, which task will it choose? Like the first one or the last one?
The first one, it will always start from the first one.
Okay.
Okay, so this is basically a starter task. And you also have the option of using this step option. Now, what this step will do is it will start the execution from the top and it will stop. It will pause at each task and it will ask you, do you want me to execute this? So essentially under this, you can tell, do you want to execute this? Do you want to execute this? Do you want to execute? So individually, you can control which task you want to execute, which task you don't want to execute. So here, for example, I can say hyphen hyphen step. So what will happen? This will start execution and it will stop. So you can see, it is asking, perform this task, gathering facts. Do you want to execute this or not? So this will stop at each step and prompt us for confirmation. So if I say N, which is no, Ansible will not execute it. So you can see it has ignored it. And then the next task, install it. Do you want to execute? So if I say yes, it will run that particular task. Then again, it will pause and ask, do you want to continue? So like this, you will have the control on each of the tasks, whether you want to execute or not. And then you have the continue, which is go ahead and execute all the tasks. Don't ask me anymore. That's your step. Questions?
No, Ravi, understood.
Next, so we also have the option of passing your variables from command line. So we have seen different ways that you can pass your variables. One is inside the playbook by using the vars section. We have also seen how you can prompt the users to pass the values. That's your second way. The third way is passing the values from the command line. Okay, so this is how you can do it. So you will not define any variable sections. You won't declare any variables. You'll just call the variables in your tasks. But then when you're executing the playbook, you'll have to pass the variable name and the respective value. So this is, again, it's another way for making your playbook generic from a DevOps perspective. See, I mean, as a DevOps, we'll know what this particular command is, but the users may not know this, right? So from a DevOps perspective, this is again making your playbook very generic. So let me show you an example. So here's the playbook. So you'll see here, I'm not declared the vars section anywhere. I'm just calling the variables here. That's all, right? So where do we define the values for this? We will pass the values from the command line. So Ansible -playbook, we'll pass the inventory file, variable, the playbook name, and then we pass this flag. So hyphen hyphen extra hyphen vars or the short form -e, right? And then in quotes, your variable name, the value that you want to pass, right? So let me take this and let's have it here. And let me just change the values to the right one. So that's docker.io. That would be Apache 2 and done. Okay. So now when I run this, Ansible will map the values within your playbooks. Does it make sense?
Yes, Ravi.
Okay. So let me run this. So you can see here how it is mapping the values that we're passing from the command line. So that's basically what it is. Okay. So you can pass the values from the playbook, which is by using the vars section. You can pass it in data sources, which is using your lookups. We can also pass it using prompts, and then you can also pass it from the command line. So you can either use this hyphen hyphen x hyphen vars flag or the shorthand, which is a hyphen e flag. Any questions?
No, Ravi.
Okay. We had this option called delegate to, but I don't think so now this is working. But essentially what this used to do was, say we'll define our host section here, right? So if I look at this, so I've set this to all, right? That means I want to execute these tasks on all the remote machines. But let's say you had a requirement wherein you want to override this and you want to execute this on one machine, this on another machine, and this one on a different machine altogether. That's where we make use of your delegate to option. So delegate to, and then we can specify where you want to execute. So let me try. I'm not sure if it is still working. The last time I tried, it was not working. I'll give it a try and see if it works. So I can set this to delegate to, and let's say I want to execute this on the local host. Okay. Likewise, delegate to this one also I want to execute on the local host, and the last one I want to execute on the remote machine. Okay, let's say. So this will be the IP of the remote machine. So basically we are overriding this, and then I'm telling, hey, I want you to run this on this machine only, not on all the machines. So let's try that. Yeah, I guess that's not working any longer because it is still pointing to the local IP. Sorry, the remote machine IP. Yeah, I guess that's no longer working. Okay, so I'm gonna ignore that. I'm gonna stop here. In the next session, we'll talk about your including and importing. We'll also see how we can work with containers using Playbook. So you can, create a container, build an image. All those things are possible. We look at that. We'll talk about your roles, and I'll talk a bit about your Ansible tower. So I'll try finishing this on Monday so that we can get started with your Maven and Jenkins from Tuesday. So let's see how that goes. Any questions, guys?
No, Ravi. Ravi, in the tag, flag, you use, right? So when we're using tag skip, it will skip the specific, like for example, Git, and then it will install the rest of this, right? Rest of the packages.
Correct.
Okay,
So
Ravi, got
essentially,
it.
when I'm telling skip tags git, I'm telling, hey, I don't want you to execute this task, execute all the other tasks.
Okay, Ravi.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys. I'll see
Thanks,
you
Ravi.
on,
Happy weekend.
yeah, happy weekend. Bye bye.